In a previous video, I showed you the team that I'm going for as my starter team at the start of FIFA 22. If you do want to see that video, then there will be a link in the description down below, as well as there'll be a card top right on your screen right now, which you can click and it'll take you directly to that video. As a quick overview, the team I put together was a 3-5-2 hybrid, and it will not be cheap, with players such as Grealish, Rudiger, Joe Gomez, Calvin Phillips, and Isco. The team will probably cost me 200 to 300k, but this is not a problem for me because I know I'll be able to trade, and I'm also looking to put FIFA points onto my main account. Today though, we are looking at much cheaper teams that you guys can put together. Before I do get into the video, if you enjoy the content here and want to see more from me, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. We've been uploading the latest news around FIFA 22, and once FIFA 22 is finally released, it will move on to the latest tips and tutorials. So if you do want to stay up to date with everything, then make sure you are following the channel. Getting back into the video. Your starter team is arguably one of the most important teams you'll build throughout the year. It's never going to be your best team, but because it's at the start of the game, if you can have a slightly better performing team compared to the average player at the beginning, you'll do a lot better in game modes, giving you more coins, better packs, which can then be used to build bigger and better teams. It just becomes a snowball effect. For this video, I have put together 3 teams based around different leagues. The players included are going to be cheap, but they could potentially be hidden gems. The cards shown in this video, they show the FIFA 22 card design, but they are based around FIFA 21 stats. At the time recording this video, there's only been a select few players who have revealed their FIFA 22 card stats. By the time you actually see this, there may actually be a lot more that's being revealed, but for this video, most are based on FIFA 21. So the first team that I've put together is a Premier League team in a 4-1-2-1-2 formation. In net, we have Tom Heaton. When it comes to goalkeepers, and it will be the case for all 3 teams, you want someone that's pretty decent, but you don't want to be putting all your coins into this area. Once the game is fully released, players will very quickly find the most overpowered way to shoot. And it doesn't matter whether or not you have a mid 80 rated goalkeeper or someone a lot higher. When it comes to a one-on-one situation, those players are always going to be taking that shot type, and it's always going to be going into the back of the net. Moving on to the defense, we have Matty Cash, Holgate, Ozan Kabak, and Fernando Markel. The Premier League is very tricky when it comes to the defense because the fullbacks are always going for a very high price. And we're not even talking about the paciest of fullbacks. Your cheapest fullback, either a common gold or a rare gold, is going to be a couple thousand coins. So even with Fernando Markel, who isn't the paciest of left backs, he's still going to be going at a very high price. And this is where we make up for it with the centre back positions. In FIFA 21, Ozan Kabak and Mason Holgate have a 72 pace each. And it's fair to say that this stat isn't going to be going down by too much within FIFA 22. They are both above 6 foot as well, and they both have fairly decent defending and physical stats for their overall rating of their card. Overall, for what it is a fairly pacey defense for the price that you're going to be paying. Moving on to the midfield, in the center defensive mid position, we have Decore. In left mid, we have Demarai Gray. In right mid, we have Takumi Minamino. And in the cam position, we have Almiron. Decore being our center defensive mid, I think is going to be solid in that midfield. Fairly decent stats all round, with him having defensive work rates. For the left mid and right mid position, I've pretty much gone for pace, whilst them still being relatively cheap. I spoke about this in the previous video where we talked about my first starter team. I think wingers are going to be vital for FIFA 22. There were so many occasions where I was able to switch play, and because of the amount of space that my players were in, they were just able to charge forward. Having that pace on there can really get players on the attack. In cam, we have Almiron, who's got high pace, high dribbling, and should be very good when it comes to shooting and passing. And then finally, as my strikers, I've gone for Origi and Ollie Watkins. Both of these players should be fairly low rated, with there being high pace, good shooting stats, and also okay physicality, which will hopefully be boosted with the help of a chem style. With Ollie Watkins, he is the smaller of the two. Hopefully he's going to be slightly pacier, whereas Origi, he's taller, being at 6'2". So hopefully if crossing and heading is overpowered, Origi is going to be the player that's always there. Now this is the Premier League team that I've put together, but you'll notice as we move on to the next two teams that you're able to get a lot more with much better players for the exact same price. Premier League is always going to be expensive, so just bear that in mind when starting FIFA 22. The next team that we're looking at is a Bundesliga team in the fourth variation of the 4-3-3 formation. Starting off in net, we have Ulrich from Bayern Munich. Yet again, very similar to the Premier League team, you want someone that's okay. You don't want to be putting all your coins into this area because, yet again, if there's an overpowered way to shoot, they're always going to be going into the back of the net. You just want a goalkeeper that's able to stop those shots from outside the box 9 out of 10 times. In defense, we have Bruno Sarr, Boyata, Nicholas Stark, and Sinkgraven. Already you're starting to see that there's more rare players within this team compared to what we have with the Premier League team, but it's still done on a very similar basis. We're looking for pace within this defensive line. Now when I say pace, it's not actually crazy pace in their card stats, but it's relatively good enough for you to add a chem style on top and this to be boosted to those high 80s, even low 90s. In the midfield, we have gone for Bellingham, Dominic Kor, and Didavi. All three of these players should be very well rounded, especially Bellingham. At the time of recording this video, Bellingham is the only player within this whole video which has had a confirmed card. He'll be 79 rated, 75 pace, 69 shooting, 73 passing, 80 dribbling, 75 defending, and 77 physical. This is a card which is going to be very good within game and might actually be the most expensive player within this team. As for Dominic Kor and Didavi, they should both be getting pretty well-rounded cards as well, which should hopefully lead to a very solid midfield. Finally, for our forwards, in our left wing position we have Thuram, in our right wing position we have Luke Bacchio, and as our striker we have Mbolo. When looking at our wingers, they both have decent pace and they both have decent finishing stats. Thuram also has the added bonus of high physicality, so I feel like it's worth spending an extra bit more just to go and get him. As for Mbolo, he's always been a player that people seem to head towards when starting a Bundesliga team. Every single year he seems to be a great player to get into your starter team because he's cheap, plus he also has very good well-rounded stats, being high pace and high physicality with there still being decent passing, decent shooting, and decent dribbling. This is the Bundesliga team that I've put together, and you can instantly tell that there's higher rated cards within this team compared to the Premier League team. This is simply because the Premier League team is always going to be more expensive, so once you move to other leagues you can actually get more for your money, and it's the exact same with the next team, which is the Serie A. The Serie A is always the cheapest out of the top 5 major leagues and always does very well for the players that there are on offer. So for the Serie A team, we are using a formation of the 4-3-2-1. Starting off in the goalkeeper position, we have Juan Musso, a player that follows the rules of what I've set for every other previous team within this video. In our defense, we have Rick Karlsdorp, Chris Smalling, Luis Felipe, and Mario Rui. Yet again, a very pacey defense, and for those that are lacking pace or the pace that we're looking for, can very easily be sorted with a chemistry style, taking them up to 80s or even 90 pace overall for their card stats. The good thing with the Serie A is that they have very well-rounded midfield players. So for our three midfields, we've gone for Nanes, Zielinski, and Matheus Vecino. All three of these players in FIFA 21 have anywhere between 60 to 70 in all of their card stats. Out of all the teams that we've shared today in this video, this is probably the best midfield. It all comes down to the Serie A being cheap, so you can actually go a lot further with the coins that you have. This is also the same once we look at our forwards. In our right forward position, we have gone for Lozano. In our left forward position, we have gone for Rebic. And for our striker, we have gone for Keita. Lozano is probably going to be the most expensive player in this team, but because the Serie A is so cheap, you should be able to get just as good players in other positions for a much lower price. And for the coins that you saved, you can actually put it into this type of player. And I think this type of player is essential. It's going to have high pace, good shooting, good passing, and very good dribbling. On the left side, we should be able to use Rebic. In FIFA 21, he is as a striker, but he's been playing a lot of the season in that left wing position and has also managed to get himself a few informs within that left wing position. So in FIFA 22, this should be his default position. As a striker moving out to that left wing, I think this makes sense. He's going to have high pace, high shooting, very good passing, high dribbling, and high physicality. And finally with Keita, it is purely just for pace. With all three of these as your forwards, there's gonna be a lot of pace there, and hopefully that should be able to hit a hard blow to your opponents when going on that attack, or even counter attack for that matter. Keita's going to have very high pace, decent shooting, decent passing, decent dribbling, and decent physicality as well. Out of all three of these teams, the best team is probably going to be the Serie A, and it's also probably going to be the cheapest. The most expensive is probably going to be the Premier League team, and a lot of that expense is going to be coming from the fullbacks. The fullbacks are always a couple thousand coins each, as they're cheapest within this league. It's always been this case for every FIFA right at the beginning. If you're looking to get a fullback within the Premier League with a very high pace, being at those high 80s, low 90s, then you're looking to have to spend 10k. And this isn't necessarily players that's going to be extremely high rated, this is just players with extremely high pace. So if you was to go to any of the other leagues, you will be able to save a lot more coins, and you will be able to put a better team together. But this video is just to show you what to expect at the beginning of the year, and these teams should all be going for less than 100k at the beginning of FIFA. And if you're going to take the time to trade right at the beginning or use FIFA points to open packs, this should be achievable. If you do have any questions about anything that we talked about in this video, then please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. But anyway guys, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did enjoy, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. But for now, I'm going to see ya.